Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Jim Cornette Experience. Today, Darby is out, the ratings are up, Netflix is out, my blood pressure is up, and we'll play a rousing game of whose fault is it anyway? And joining me for all this and more, Hawaiian Brian, the podcasting lion, the king of the Arcadian Vanguard podcast network, Mr. Co-host to you. He's the highest bidder for Channel 5 in Quahog, Rhode Island. Be great, Brian Last, everybody.
Aloha, Jim. A pleasure to be here once again for your show. I get to sit back and hear all the wonderful things you bring all the wrestling fans here this week.
So, Brian, what are you going to do when you take control of the vast Channel 5 and Quahog, Rhode Island broadcasting empire? Are you going to sign up any wrestling promotions to multi-million-dollar rights fee deals and things of that nature to compete with the big boys we're reading about?
It's actually my dream to have like a local television station I could run and program. I would definitely have wrestling.
You don't want to run it. You just want to program it.
No, I'd actually like to run the business end of it too. But I would definitely have wrestling because wrestling brings eyeballs. It wouldn't be anything I had to pay a lot of money for. And depending on the investment my station was going to make in it, either we would use our studio and just do our own thing, or I'd find a company and have their, like, you know, the deal that Sinclair is doing with the NWA. I would do something like that.
Well, and I don't know who the heel's going to be in that program, but good luck to the two of them working together. But as a matter of fact, let's talk about wrestling business a little bit, because do you know what yesterday was in the city of Louisville, Kentucky? As you and I sit here recording now, not as this airs, but yesterday in Louisville, Kentucky, do you know what that was?
Yesterday, February 26th, as we are recording. It's either the anniversary of some great tragedy or it's the announcement of this year's Thunder over Louisville, the big return coming this summer.
No, that isn't. Well, it ain't coming this summer because it's in April. It's the start of Derby Festival, for heaven's sake. It's always like the second or third Saturday. I forget how they work that out in April. But nevertheless, no, you are incorrect, man. It was Cody Rhodes Day in Louisville, Kentucky, Brian. Cody Rhodes.
Because of his long history with Louisville, Kentucky?
Well, because he was the one that they sent to do the advanced publicity for SmackDown tonight as we sit here. That's downtown at the Yum Center. So we'll be talking about that program on your show from here in Louisville, but they sent him to do advanced publicity. And I just saw this here, obviously, because it just happened yesterday. The mayor, Craig Greenberg himself, made the presentation to Cody of a plaque signifying it was Cody Rhodes Day in Louisville. And he was here in OVW in 2006 and 2007.
Right, which no one ever talks about ever.
But
if it was CM Punk, it would be worth it. People talk about CM Punk and OVW. It's a part of his story. It's a big part of his story. But Cody?
Oh, yes, but Cody was here for quite some time also. But the fucking rib of this is remember when the folks from over in England, from West Faversham, that owned the soccer team or the football team, over there, they bought OVW, right? We talked about this on the program and made fun of why would a small town soccer club in England want to own a wrestling school in Louisville, Kentucky, or is Wales? I'm sorry.
Wales, that's right.
I keep getting that wrong, and I apologize to the Englishman as well as the Walesman.
The Welsh?
Not Ron and Robert and Buddy don't have anything to do with this.
No, Ron's too busy adjusting his wig.
Now down, boy. But anyway, the point is when they bought it, you know who they bought it from? One of the people they bought it from was Mayor Craig Greenberg. And I'm just thinking, where are the folks from West Faversham now? What did they end up doing? Because
they had big plans. Remember, they thought people like us laughing at them was good. It was giving them publicity, but they had big plans for OVW. And we're still waiting.
I saw the OVW, some of the OVW talent on And I'm not gonna blister. I'm not trying to blister any of the current young OVW hopefuls. It's not their fault the way that this thing is going or being run or whatever the hell is going on here. And I assume they're a bunch of friends in a community theater project at this point, and they're having the time of their life, and bless them. But again, over the last, what's it been? I've lost track. 10 years since, maybe not even, since Danny Davis sold the thing to Al Snow and whoever he had found to be his investor. I can't keep track of all these things at this point. I don't know if anybody's ever known. Danny's in Pensacola, and he could give a shit who the OVW TV champion is or whatever, right? Danny's retired and he's deliriously happy. But then it was Al that owned it. And then, remember, this was, oh God, 7 or 8 years ago. I was talking to my cousin Larry, who used to be in the medical services field, and he knows doctors. He says, yeah, I've got a doctor friend that invested in a local wrestling promotion. I said, what? I said, Ohio Valley Wrestling? Said, yeah, is it? Did you used to do so? He don't know anything about wrestling, right? Did you used to do something with that? Yeah. But there were people investing in this company. And then, well, I don't know if the mayor was in on it yet, because it's so confusing. But remember, they did this Netflix documentary thing on OVW a couple of years ago now, and they probably shot it a year before that. They thought that was going to propel them into the stratosphere.
Oh yeah, remember they did a tour after that?
I think they fucking got to the first or second stop and decided to come on home, from what I heard. But nevertheless, but in the documentary, Matt Jones, the guy from Kentucky Sports Radio, was the guy who was saying, "Oh my God, we're going to lose a couple of $100,000 this year." And at that time, I said, what the fuck is going on? Danny Davis and I could have let everybody in free and not lost a couple $100,000 in a year, right? And then the mayor was revealed as one of the local investors in OVW when they got accreditation as a trade school. What are they teaching them how to build the ring before they bump in it? And then West Faversham comes in, I'm not this. I don't want this to sound like sour grapes, like, oh, Cornette used to have the thing and now no. I'm trying to figure out how that anybody thought that this was something that they should invest money in based on having run it at the only time when it ever made money. Do you see what I'm saying? Is this an unfair question to me to be asking?
No, but I think you have the unique perspective of knowing what the business is and realizing, I mean, I don't want to just put people down, but it's Al Snow and a bunch of idiots who bought OVW and never.
Well, I don't know if I'd classify Al Snow as an idiot now, because I don't know if he's actually got personal money in this thing, because a lot of other people we can confirm do. But go ahead.
Well, I mean, the issue is, all of these things we're talking about, imagine how different all of these conversations would be, even knowing that it's whether majority students or, just a lot of students. But if the show was good, imagine if OVW TV was actually watchable and good. Not another attempt to copy someone else's style, like everyone does, falling into the WWE Vince McMahon way of producing television.
With absolutely, apparently, no budget for production whatsoever and a hand of interns basically manning all the positions.
It always blows me away when people who have spent their life around wrestling get a chance to book or write wrestling television, and it's like they don't understand wrestling. But whatever, that's just my perspective.
Well, but I don't understand business here. That's what I'm saying. Because again, I saw some OVW guys on the news several days ago. They were promoting, I don't know, to be honest, I didn't pay close enough attention, but it's apparently a show at a local brewery. They got several of those not custom breweries. What's the word I'm searching for? The small local craft. There you go.
Craft brewery. That's right.
It's a brewery or whatever. They've got a show there. Every once in a while, they do a show at a festival of some description around town. And then they do their TV show once a week, which is, let's not say, sparsely attended. How about that?
And how much are they paying themselves?
And well, but here's the thing.
Because otherwise, how you losing all that money?
Well, that's what I'm saying to you is that's what they're doing. They don't do the Six Flags Kentucky Kingdom shows that I'm speaking from experience. This is how we made money with OVW without WWF involvement figured in. It's not about, well, they just don't need a developmental contract. We had, and I've told the various stories about our business in OVW with the sold shows to Clear Channel when the Gardens was open. And that was the thing. We sold those shows to Clear Channel Radio for 3 shows for $120,000, but they grossed 150 or 60 plus Clear Channel made money on sponsorships. The Thornton's gas stations in town, every one of them had a 6-foot Stone Cold stand up, and they were in all the advertising. That went to Clear Channel. And so there was an independent wrestling school in a market with television or radio partners can make profits for its ownership of in the tens of thousands of dollars a month. And you could be very comfortable, but for doctors and lawyers and mayors and investors and people losing tens of thousands of dollars a month, I don't know how the fuck they're doing that. And that's what I've said. They're not running any shows to speak of. And the talent, everybody's got a belt of some kind and they got a gimmick, and I'm sure they're happy working, probably even happier working together than the AEW locker room is. But there is no major television partner or radio partner or big arena or thing for them to build to. Kentucky Kingdom shows or major event, whatever the fuck. There's no developmental contract. So why the fuck are this many people buying into this fucking thing that I can't imagine unless all of the students are paying promptly on their tuition to pay to be there? Where's the fucking, as Jerry Jarrett used to say, where's the blue sky? Where is
the blue skies when the angel investor comes in from Fabersham and buys your company? That's the blue sky. That's what it's all about.
Where are they going to, what sky are they looking at? They're looking up at the lights right now.
Fabersham's blue skies when they go to Saudi Arabia and meet with some sheik and say, hey, we've got this company. We own all these soccer teams that, are big in
West Fabersham. And plus we own this wrestling school in Louisville, Kentucky with
and their catalog.
12 guys and 6 girls that probably have fucking part-time jobs at Chili's. What is going on?
It's about the content. They could say we have this incredible content library going back to 2011 or whatever it is. Right? Where does it? Because they don't have any of the WWE owns the OVW stuff up to what point?
That would only be to 2007, I believe. But I mean, it's not like there's been a lot of truthfully stellar content since then, to be quite honest.
Well, although
there was a period of time when Danny had the TNA relationship and, they were sending some people in. I was not a close observer, but That's,
It's because you knew how to write a TV show that made people actually care about the show and want to see what was going to happen the next week. And every time I've seen OVW since then, including the bits I saw that Netflix documentary, made me never want to see any of it ever again.
Well, and I'm not going to disagree with you there, but the main basic thing was, as long as Danny Davis was running that company, it was not going to, it might lose in the later years a few dollars here and there, but it was not going to ultimately run at a major loss to him. And at about the time that he figured, you know what, this is not gonna, he was disenchanted with the business quite a bit before that, and probably as much as I was. But about the time he was ready to go, he went, and I don't know what the fuck has gone on. Again, it's only been, I lose track of time, and the time just passes so quickly these days. But 7-8 years, all these people are trying to own this thing, and they're doing less and less. And I mean, again, I know the market in Louisville, and it's not like that there is at this particular juncture that you could make a case. You could bring somebody and say, look, here's what I've got, and here's Louisville, Kentucky, and here's what we're doing, and I want X dollars. And I would say, how the fuck do you expect to make any kind of 5-figure sums with what you got going on here?
Well, maybe they're hoping for a big boost from Cody Rhodes Day to get a lot of attention for them.
Well, no, they were hoping for a boost for SmackDown, because they ain't going to fill up the Yum Center. I'll tell you that. But nevertheless, we'll report on the Yum Center on your show.
You brought up Cody Rhodes in OVW. And of course, when Cody Rhodes first came up to the main roster, I believe he was with Ted DiBiase Jr. And then they were put with Randy Orton. It was a third-generation thing. Yes. Have you been following the trial of Ted DiBiase Jr.?
I get so goddamn confused with all these various defendants in this scheme to embezzle and embroil and fucking embargo money from charities and poor people under the guise of religion and or public service, that all I know lately is he keeps trying to declare a mistrial and he keeps missing. What's the latest?
I have a little bit of audio I could play you. This is from the Channel 16, I believe, WAPT in Mississippi. They have a report from the courthouse. Let me play you some audio.
It doesn't appear that prosecutors were out to embarrass John Davis. Those text messages show he had a very personal, almost romantic-like relationship with the DiBiase brothers. The question is,
oh,
why?
God damn it.
In one 2018 text message from Brett to Davis, Brett says,
Brett is Brett DiBiase, Ted DiBiase Jr.'s brother, who's implicated in this whole thing as well.
I don't know where I stand with you. Every time I think of you, I want to be with you. Davis responded, I love you, I love you, I love you. Another Brett text to Davis reads, it's only when I'm with you I feel safe enough to sleep. Davis told the jury he got very close to Brett. In a July 2018 text message, Davis told Teddy Jr., I will freaking die for you. Teddy responded, it would be my honor to die for you, bro. Because of his special bond with the DiBiase.
Let me stop it there for a second.
The fuck is the matter with all of these people?
I've got some great friends in my life. I've never read any of them. It would be an honor to die for you, bro. What the fuck is that?
Yeah, no, that's some. Well, but are they stringing him along in some type of way to cover for them and whatever the fuck that they've been doing, along with who's the big one in this?
John Davis.
The big one, the big guy that took all the money, or took most of the money. The top guy in this scheme in Mississippi. There's another guy's involved there. Go ahead. They may mention him. Yes. Who knows? They may be planning to kill him next.
John Davis was the MDHS director. Let's go back to the remaining moments of audio.
Davis admitted he pressured New School Summit founder Nancy New and Family Resource Center director Christy Webb to give DiBiase a $497,000 contract and a $500,000 contract from News Nonprofit, even as DiBiase showed no receipts or any documents on how the money was spent. Davis told the jury he kept pushing to make sure DiBiase got more contracts. Prosecutors say DiBiase used some $2.9 million in what they call sham contracts to buy a new car, a new boat, and purchase a new house in the city of Madison. Reporting from the federal courthouse in downtown, Ross Adams, 16 WAPT News.
Well, thank you. That was from our correspondent, WAPT News, here on the show. But
fine newsroom down there. Again, yes. And Teddy, did he get out of this yet? They were, because he has some ministry that was accused of taking money in this whole scheme also.
Oh, you mean Ted Sr.? You're talking about Ted DiBiase Sr.
No, I mean Ted Sr., because we should, I guess, explain at this point that DiBiase's, plural, and all these other people took millions of dollars from the state of Mississippi under the guise that they were charitable or that they were foundations that were doing various things and were doing jack all of squat, except, as you heard, buying themselves boats and cars and things. But now this, okay, Davis sounds like a cuckoo, and I would consider it an honor to die for you, bro, indicates that they are trying to keep him in their good graces, because I guess he was the one passing the contracts through. Are they, and why do these people write shit like this down when they're engaged in giant conspiracies?
The reporters said they had a very friendly, almost romantic-like relationship. So I don't know what to think.
And not that there's anything wrong with that, but when it gets
when the money's involved,
I'll die without you, and I'll consider it an honor to die for you amongst people who have stolen millions of dollars on fraudulent charities. This gets disturbing all the way around.
It's crazy watching the footage here on the video, comparing it to like anything you see in New York or most big cities, where if there's a big trial, you see the person walking down the street with their lawyers, and you'll see media or just weird people who go to the courthouse to hang around. There's no one here. It's like empty street. It's Ted DiBiase and his lawyers walking in there. There's no one. There's not a single person anywhere near them.
They're in Jackson, right? Jackson, Mississippi?
I believe so.
Well, why would you go downtown in Jackson, Mississippi unless you were going to fucking court?
Well, we will stay on top of this story. And again, I brought it up because you made me think of it when you brought up Cody Rhodes Day. Who knows how different history would be today if Ted DiBiase Jr. had taken better to the industry and stayed with it? Who knows where he would be today?
Well, and also, who knows, it could have been Ted DiBiase Day in Jackson, Mississippi, instead of Ted DiBiase's court day in Jackson, Mississippi. Edward Jr. and say, but that's the, can you Google real quick before we get out of this and talk about another miscreant who's had a brush with some kind of public incident? Is Ted Sr. still being accused or anything? That I hated to hear that, and was hoping that it was some way or another that his son had become another of the goddamn second generation people of my generation that brought shame on their family name.
As of early 2026, according to an AI overview by Google, Ted DiBiase Sr. has not been criminally charged or put on trial regarding the Mississippi welfare scandal, while his sons, Ted Jr. and Brett, pleaded guilty to charges related to misappropriating funds. Ted Sr. is only named in a separate, ongoing civil lawsuit brought by the state welfare department.
The state is suing him?
The welfare department, yeah.
Oh, Christ on a cracker. All righty, well, I guess we'll keep everybody updated on that case now going forward. That we've taken a sudden fucking turn from who's being hoodwinked in a money laundering scheme to goddamn my contemporaries' kids are going to fucking jail. Did you hear about, Brian, to just try to concentrate more on the positive things in wrestling, did you hear about Darby Allin getting kicked out of an Uber?
I heard about this nonstop yesterday, Tons of people were sending over via email to the Cult of Cornette Facebook group, Twitter, the video nonstop. Seemingly a lot of people are certain that it's real and legitimate, and
oh, Christ.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, yeah, I know exactly how I feel about it. Are we allowed to play that? How this was all over the place. If DicksWrestlingNews.com can play it, can we listen to the conversation that went on somehow?
Give me one moment. Let me pull this up. I'm gonna.
I mean, and folks, you can see that we carefully plan and produce this program just within a goddamn millisecond of timing on the format.
All right. I believe I have audio here.
Well, hold on. Let me just give my initial way I heard about this was I turned on the Twitter machine and everybody's going with this head like Darby Allin kicked out of Uber on the air or whatever it was, right? Various versions of that. And apparently the story is that Darby was doing a radio show call in to promote one of their live events. And it's not a call in like we used to do on the radio where you're actually calling on the phone. He's got his phone, but it's the video. He's got his video face on the, what is it, FaceTime, or what do the children do now with the phone?
Oh, it could be FaceTime. It could be Zoom. It could be who knows what exactly, but he is doing
whatever the fuck he's doing.
A live video interview with a podcast host who appears to be in a studio, or at least something that resembles a studio.
Oh, so it was not even radio. It's just some podcast like any jack-off could have, like us. Okay.
I guess it could be radio, actually. I don't know.
I thought it was a local radio station, I believe.
It says podcast interview here in the video.
Okay, well, nevertheless, he's doing this on video in the back seat, I guess, of an Uber, and somehow the Uber driver says, "Oh, dude, can you hang up?" What? I'm doing this. No, hey, I've been at work since 5 o'clock in the morning. I don't want to hear you talking. You're too loud. Get off the phone. And it escalates very quickly, as a matter of fact, to where Darby gets put out on the side of the road for not wanting to hang up. And the driver, let's just say, will not ever win any Academy Awards for dramatic acting. And if Darby is not any more perturbed about this than he is about anything else in his life, I'd just walk up to him and actually piss on his leg and see if he just fucking cared. Because it's just like, I'm here on the side of the road. It's phony as a football bat. But let's break it down.
I have the audio here.
Break it down.
Again,
give it a beat.
The previous incidents, we have not had, we didn't see video of him getting hit in the face by a bus, for instance. But let's go to this. Darby Allin doing a podcast interview. I'm not exactly sure with who.
Collision. We got this program going on. Can we expect to see like a match?
One second.
I hate to interrupt like your AA or like therapy session, or but it's kind of rude of you to be on speakerphone like in someone's Uber.
Is it cool if I finish?
Look, man, I've been driving since 5 a.m. I'm tired. Like, can you just put the phone up? Like, it's a little rude.
This is like an interview. Yeah, we're on national TV right now, just doing an interview here real quick.
I don't care. I make like $15 an hour. Like, I don't care.
Yeah, but you want 5 stars. This is 1-star behavior.
Is this your AA sponsor or something?
No, it's not an AA sponsor.
I don't care. Can you just put the
Pause for a second. Pause for a second. That's the second time he's dropped the AA line. That means that was one he was fed to, and Darby's straight edge, and that's to whatever this program they've cooked up in their fucking heads. It was a key line, and the guy thought he got stepped on before. He wanted to make sure that everybody heard it. And why would you just randomly accuse this guy who you have no idea who this fucking guy is in the back seat of your car? What are you in some AA call or something? This is not realistic in any way. They're just doing a fucking skit for a podcast and to get publicity, and people bought it. But go back and let them expose themselves further.
Back to the interview. And again, I'm not exactly sure who is the host or what this show is. Otherwise, I would give them some credit. But
I'm not sure what this show is either.
Like $15 an hour. Like, I don't care.
Yeah, but you want 5 stars. This is 1-star behavior.
Is this your AA AA sponsor or something?
No, it's not an AA sponsor.
I don't care. And you just put the phone away.
I'm straight edge.
Is he really
Yeah,
he's
I knew at this face paint, this Gene Simmons thing, like you were gonna be trouble. Like,
yeah.
dude,
Wait,
you want me to
Nice.
Hold on for a second. I knew with this face painting Gene Simmons thing, you were going to be trouble. That's a hell of a line.
The guy's freestyling now. See, he's getting into his character and coming up with his own shit. Oh my God.
Go, buddy.
Put the phone.
That's 1-star behavior, sir. You know, and honestly, a Lyft driver would not drive like that. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to get
Uber. Like,
Take me to Tucson.
Yeah. Take him to Tucson so we could be doing AEW live here.
yeah,
at
real
Tucson.
fun, buddy. Dude, I'm over this. I'm getting out of my car now.
Hold on.
Let me see you.
We're in the middle of the
I
highway.
don't care.
We're,
Out.
we're,
Get out. Go. Get out of my car. Get out.
We're in the middle of the highway.
Darby's so upset.
The guy's pounding on his wheel screaming, behavior you never see unless it's like a bunch of shit happening, maybe with a lunatic.
Yeah, you know, there's certain fucking chemicals that you could, you know, sit, but not just this is no. And again, Darby, if this is the level of anger that he gets at this, like I said, I just want to walk up to him and just fucking slap him. He's not in any seeming to show any inconvenience at being put out on the side of the road.
See, Lyft drivers wouldn't do this.
Go.
wow.
I'm in the middle of the highway, so hold on, let me go over here. It's kind of loud.
He drove off on you. Did it look like he drove off on you? Yeah, he drove off on you.
He's gone. So what were we saying? Because I gotta find a.
I fucking love you, dude.
And again, some of these jump cuts are because that's how Darby posted on his Instagram. That's where we are getting this audio from.
Ah, okay. So that's, yeah.
Can we expect to see you do a match in Tucson when the Collision comes to town on March 7th?
Can we expect to see me in Tucson? I'm in the middle of the highway. If I can get an Uber, I will be there. I promise you.
I love it. We'll get on the phone, get your Uber, get to Tucson safe. Darby Allin, we appreciate everything that you're doing.
All right, I think we can call it there. You know what?
Yeah, I think we can call it all right.
It's clearly a bit. And I'm okay with that because you know what? Darby Allin has shown us that he goes the extra mile. Remember when he used to do cameos and like every cameo that we played was like a brand new bit of like someone crashing through some, like it was never the same thing twice.
Yeah.
It was always like something new. And again, although it's clearly a bit, you know, you kind of need all the parties to be good at what they're doing for this to work. I give him credit for always having some sort of creative way to promote himself or promote something. I mean, you know, again, it's a bit, but it's not terrible. Like the idea behind it. Is
something always happening to him to the point where he's crying wolf, as Butch Reed would say, selling wolf tickets? Is it just now, do we question, did he really get hit by the bus? We didn't see it. He just told people about it. What one person, is he the Forrest Gump of awkward social interactions where there's always something happening to him at some given point in public?
Yes. I think that's exactly it. Because I've seen other interviews with him where he's just talking about like traveling and like things he's done in the car. And it's like, Jesus, what's wrong with this guy? That's just the way he lives. And yeah, a bit. I don't know where they were. They were clearly not on the way to Tucson. That's
you know what? I wish to God that everybody had a video camera in their pocket 40 years ago. I could have showed people some goddamn cab driver fucking harassment stories. You would have believed it because they did. I've told you about Bobby Eaton and cab drivers.
No.
Or have I?
Bobby Eaton and cab drivers? No, I don't think so.
He had this bit. Well, I mean, I've told stories when the cab driver in Washington, D.C. on the way to the armory got us lost, and I had to get on the radio and radio the fucking dispatcher to give us directions to get from the neighborhood he'd got us into the fucking armory. And not only did he try to charge us, not only we ain't paying you, but if you try to charge us again, Des Conrad's going to beat the fuck out of you. That was one cab story that wasn't funny. But Bobby would do this bit and we wouldn't call it. And the first time he did it, we just kind of went with it. And it was so much fun that then whenever he'd do it again, we'd do the same basic thing. We'd be riding a cab somewhere. And because there was 3 of it, all the bags are filling up the fucking trunk. And there's 2 of us because we're all fairly large in the back, and you could ride in the front seat back then. I know you can't in New York. You can't ride in a front seat of a cab in New York, can you? With the driver.
Actually, it depends on the car, but I wouldn't advise it.
Well, no, I don't. I thought it was like they wouldn't let you because they're afraid of getting robbed or whatever. Because it's a goddamn bank vault window in between the fucking front and the back. 40 years ago, if we're in a cab in goddamn Birmingham, it's a fucking car. Maybe there's a window, maybe there's not, right? Between the front and the back. And Bobby would be the one to get up in the front, but he would start rocking on the trip, right? Oh, corny. Bobby, did you take your pills? No, I didn't take my head. And the cab drivers start kind of noticing. I said, sir, I'm sorry, it's a problem. He got hit by a bread truck when he was a teenager, and he just sometimes has flashbacks. He's supposed to be on some medication. Oh, corny, it's my head. I said, the last thing that he remembers hearing before the truck hit him was the sound of the brakes squealing. So sometimes when he's moving and he has the traffic around, he has these issues, and Bobby's rocking. And as soon as something makes any kind of noise, Bobby says, the brakes, and he'd lunge for the goddamn guy's steering wheel. And I'd grab him around the neck. No, Bobby, no.
Oh my God. How did the drivers react?
Goddamn. They didn't know what to do. Well, what are they going to fucking do right then, right? I said, sir, I'm sorry. He's okay. He's all right. See, I'm sorry, brother. Sometimes I just hear the brakes. It was a little rib to pass the time. See, those are like wrestling ribs of the old days.
What story? Not that it was a rib, but what story do I remember about? Because I would have heard it from you. Was it you pulling up to Techwood Drive and kicking the guy's cab, and Doug Dillinger had to come out and separate you?
No, it wasn't. Was it Doug Dillinger then?
Maybe not. Maybe it wasn't Doug. It was Atlanta, so maybe it wasn't Doug.
Well, I'm trying to think of who the fuck that it was. Was it Charlie McGowan? Nevertheless, yes. Me and I think at that point it was Bobby and Stan. Stan is on the team by that point. As we did every week practically for fucking goddamn, I don't know how long, years, took a cab from the Atlanta airport to the fucking TBS studio for the morning tapings, where then we'd call a cab and go back to the airport and fly it somewhere fucking 5 hours later. And every time we I think it was $15 at the time to go from the airport to TBS. So we'd give the guy $20 or whatever. So, buddy, give me some receipts. And we would each get a receipt where we could put on our income tax, because we each would fucking put in. One day I'd pay the 20, next day, blah, 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 but we'd all get receipts. You know the drill. And they were a blank pad, like a notepad of receipts from Bill's taxi company, paid X dollars from X to X, and you fill it in, right? So every week we get this one guy. I said, I need a receipt, but here's 20. I say, one for each of us. And the boys had already got out of the car. They're getting their stuff. And he gives me one receipt. I say, give me 2 more. He said, oh, no. I know what you're trying to do. What? You're trying to cheat the government. What the fuck are you? What are you on about? I could buy one of those fucking pads from a print shop, you idiot. Just give me 3 of them. You don't have to sign anything. They'll never know. No, he refused to give me the fucking 2 other receipts. These are not serial numbered or in any way tied to him. They're blank pads that the fucking cab companies used, right? And he said, I will not give to you. I said, in that case, give me the fucking $5 tip back. And he said, and now the boys that don't know whatever the fuck is going on, they've already walked in the back door of the TV studio. And I said, give me the fucking $5 tip back. No, I won't. You get out of my, and I got out the back seat because I grabbed my fucking bag. I didn't want this guy to fucking drive off of my shit, right? But I'm still standing in the way. I said, no, you give me the $5. We're gonna be here a while. I will not. So I said, okay, I'll tell you what then. Here, this costs you more than $5. So I started putting the boots to the back door of his fucking car. Whoom, whoom. And he jumps out. He's like, God, whatever the fuck. And he has popped the fucking trunk and he comes out of the trunk with a broom handle. So I said, oh, and you son of a bitch. I dropped my goddamn suit bag and I pulled I had my racket across the top of my carry bag. I dropped my suit bag and pulled the racket off the top of the carry bag. And we're going to have a goddamn kendo stick confrontation here. And who would know? It was the security guy at the TBS truck. There was a trailer in the back door of the studio where the security guy that checked people in and blah, blah, blah. It was just the security guy there. It wasn't Doug Dillinger. The Dillinger story you're thinking was at the Clash of Champions in Asheville, but nevertheless. The security guy has seen this now because he sees wrestlers coming in every Saturday morning in cabs. He hadn't paid any attention, and suddenly he hears this whomp, whomp, whomp. And he looks at it, he said, what the fuck's going on? I said, this fucking guy won't give me my fucking change. And he said, he's kicking my car. And I said, he pulled a fucking stick out on me. and the guy just said, Jim, go on in the fucking studio. You get the fuck out of here. And the guy said, but he kicked in my car. Hey, get the fuck out of here. Go on in the studio. So I went in the studio and the fucking guy left mad.
I knew we'd get some good cab stories out of this.
Well, nevertheless, anyway, it's not a cab, though. It's an Uber. But you know what Darby Allin's story was there, don't you, Brian?
Hogwash.
Dog food.
Better. Much better. Good job.
And dog food is what that daggum story was, but not the good dog food, the crummy dog food, the cheap dog food, the dog food that they try to sell you. It's easy and it's easy to serve and easy to store and it lasts forever. You can feed your dog this one has been sitting in a closet for 2 years because it's full of fillers and synthetics and et cetera, et cetera. And I got to be quite honest with you, Brian, after a year or so, we have missed the baby and we are in the process of trying to figure out an adoption for a little blessed event here at Castle Cornette.
Oh, wonderful.
And so as a result of that, we don't have a candidate yet, but we're beginning a process. And as a result, we're checking into food and we found out about Sundays for dogs. Because Sunday can be every day of the week for your little pet poochie. It doesn't have, over in the UK, they have the Sunday roast, the Sunday lie-in, and they have a big roast and a big feast, or at least a feast to the level that their culinary efforts over there will take them. I love you guys, but Jesus Christ, the blood pudding. But nevertheless, you don't want to feed your dog Monday through Saturday shit. You want to feed your dog Sundays for dogs. You can have fresh and healthy, or you can have easy to store and serve, but you don't have to choose anymore. You can have it all, baby. You can have Sundays for dogs because it was founded by a veterinarian and mother, Dr. Tori Waxman. I wonder if she's related to my Old friend Cat Collins.
She's not.
She's not. She's not. Not related to Cat Collins, but see, cats, dogs, see, they never got along. But Dr. Waxman got tired of seeing the so-called premium dog food full of fillers and synthetics. Like Jackie Fargo said, they were too synthetic. So she designed Sundays, air-dried real food made in a human-grade kitchen. Right? A human-grade kitchen. There's actually, some people live in homes where the kitchen wouldn't actually qualify as human-grade. But every bit of Sundays is clean and made from real meat, fruits, and veggies with no kibble, which is basically floor sweepings, sawdust, possible fungal material, weird ingredients that you can't pronounce.
We don't know exactly what is in those products.
What's in some of these things. Well, there's in a lot of these things in the world, especially on the black market dog food market. Where, in some states, if you buy dog food out of the back of a Chevy Caprice, it's like a death sentence. Compared to kibble or other brands out there, Sundays invest 50 times more in its ingredients to ensure premium quality because your doggy, he's a good boy or a good girl, deserves food made with care, not in the interest of cheapness and frivolity with their health. And you just scoop it and serve it. No freezer, no thawing, no prep, no mess. Nutrient-rich, clean food. Swami, for example, Brian, has Swami showed any evidence of more energy, better mood, more calm and focus, a softer coat, less itching, no eye boogers, better shapoopy, and a more cuddlesome atmosphere? Has Swami been out prowling around the neighborhood looking for female dogs to engage with in the age-old dance of romance amongst the dogs under the full moon type of thing?
Whether human or
has
animal,
he been humping your leg?
Whether human or animal, Jim will take it too far when we talk about these things. But I will say, when we got the box from Sundays for Dogs, Swami immediately noticed it because it looks like a cereal box. And you open it up, there's a bag in there, the fresh food. He rejects a lot of food if he doesn't like it. He didn't reject this. He liked it. We've given him almost the entire box now of the first box that we've received. So, dog approved.
Jesus Christ, what kind of fucking pig is your dog?
Swami approved. He's a little dog, and he's not a pig. He's a nice dog.
Well, he's eating the whole goddamn box there, Smithers. For heaven's sake, you let this dog exercise some kind of restraint or whatever, the little butterball.
Well, it'll make your dogs happy if Swami is someone who could stand in for your dog. He's very happy right now, and you should check this out if you are a dog owner looking for a better option for food.
Or you're saying that Swami is now going to work as a stand-in for dogs? For what if the dog goes on vacation? You're leasing Swami out to sit there for a while? And
I'm saying he's the representative of the dog community. As we are talking about this,
well,
you and I are speaking about humans. He could speak for the dogs.
I don't believe you can speak for the dogs by just nominating him the representative of the dogs. I think there needs to be some kind of election. And folks, what we're going to do here is we're going to run a campaign and possibly an election on our Sundays for Dogs spots going forward. If someone has a candidate that wants to run against Swami, then please put them forward. And we'll engage in serious debate here on the program going forward. But right now...
You fight with Swami, ladies and gentlemen. You fight with me. I'll bring it. You want to challenge Swami's reign? I'll bring it.
Well, I'm telling you, it's all about the voters.
He's well fed.
What they desire.
He's ready for a fight. He's well fed. He's been eating Sundays for Dogs.
He's been on a training program. And that's what you can do, folks, right now. If you want to take care of your poochies, make the switch to Sundays. Go right now. It's sundaysfordogs.com/JCE50. And you're going to get 50% off your first order. The code is JCE50 at sundaysfordogs.com. 50% off your first order. And see if little pooch or poochette does not indeed feel friskier and happier and lickier and all that type of thing And also, and better smelling stool, I understand. The stool is the nice word they use for shit. And apparently stool smells better than shit. So if your dog is shitting right now, get some Sundays for dogs and it'll turn into stool.
For the record, I don't think anyone's sniffing their dog's poop, but it says here better stool.
Well, you can't really
It says better stool, not better smelling stool.
It'd be better if it didn't. It'd be better if it didn't smell bad enough to gag a maggot off a gut wagon.
I think they're talking about, again, I don't want to talk too much about this, but they're not talking about the smell. They're talking about the overall poopness.
What are you, some kind of fucking stool expert?
You wanted people to sniff it a second ago. What are you talking about?
I'm saying that you got a problem if you can't help but smelling it. Even if you can taste it and your mouth is still closed.
Oh, what? No.
That's when it needs to be better. It needs to be better.
Let's get back to a better option for your dog. Sundays for Dogs. One more time, Jim, and you'll be hearing more about them in the future here on the show. How can the listeners get this great deal?
Sundaysfordogs.com, and the code is JCE50 at checkout. 50% off your first order.
That's right. Sundaysfordogs.com/JCE50.
But Brian, now that we have fed the canine population, I thought of another thing I should have mentioned that Bobby Eaton used to like to do when we would take cab rides, as he might have said. Again, I don't know how they do it these days. I haven't been in a cab. Probably the last time I was in a cab was in New York City 15 years ago, and you may have been somewhere around when I was venting about it. But if 40 years ago, they had the radio in the cabs where the dispatcher, when you called on your phone, you called the fucking cab company and told them where you wanted the cab, and then they get on the radio that the cab driver has, like a CB radio type of radio, and they would radio the cab driver where to fucking go, right? Is this revolutionary today for the kids? Do they understand this?
For the kids, I don't know, but that's typically how it was done. It was a dispatch, and they would tell the cab drivers where to go to pick people up.
But have we just blown people's minds if they're 20 years old with, they did what? Well, but nevertheless.
For some people, the idea that you would call in advance for a cab is different. You know, New York City, you just walk on the street and put your hand up and 5 people fight for you. But the idea today,
anywhere else in the country, you would call like an hour ahead and pray one would show up to your house or wherever you needed to be.
Yeah.
But anyway, so usually we're getting them at the airport or they're calling us somewhere at a venue at the other end or whatever. Thankfully, we're not just prowling around people's neighborhoods usually. But sometimes, as I said, because somebody had to sit in the front, Bobby would put his bags in the trunk real quick when the guy first opened it up. And then while the guy's helping me and Dennis, we're handing him this, Bobby would jump in the front seat. Because we've been in enough cabs, you heard that radio. Apparently the way it worked was if the cab driver wanted to call the dispatcher, the cab driver would say his number. Like if he was cab 36, he'd key the microphone, say 36. And then you'd hear the dispatcher, yeah, come on, 36 or whatever, right? So Bobby would sit in the front seat and he'd get the microphone, he'd press the key down, he'd go, 24, and then, come in 24, 46, come in 46, 16, and see how long he could do it for the fucking cab driver that either sat down or the fucking dispatcher said, who the fuck is this? And it started the trip off right.
Years ago, I was in a cab in Long Beach. Like, this is like 30 years ago, whatever. And the dispatch guy and the cab driver were like fighting with each other, like over the thing. And it was the most amusing thing. I mean, they were so serious and the driver was like angry and serious. And I thought it was the most entertaining thing I'd ever experienced. Fuck you. Well, fuck you. Yeah. It's like, I'm not even here. It's incredible.
And I teased people earlier. I don't even know if it's on the YouTube channel, but at this point, because it's an old story, but when we had flown, we had a double shot because of a snow out date. I'm not going to go into all the details, but we had to do a show one night, January 87, in Richmond, Virginia at 8:00 at the Coliseum, and then had the main event in a scaffold match with the Road Warriors, an 8:30 show at the DC Armory in Washington. And because it was a makeup for a fucking date, it had been snowed out. And again, we had to fly. Crockett got a plane for like 6 of us. I don't remember how many, whatever the fuck was on. And they had cabs waiting. Again, this was all done by the skin of everybody's teeth. I can't believe we made these things. But we get in this cab, and the other guys, I think Dusty was on the show also. There was a different undercard, so it was only like the 2 main events. So the other guys get in their cabs, and they're gone off, and we're in our cab, and we're taking off. And this guy's driving. We said, DC Armory. Yeah. He's not only driven us into it after 15, 20 minutes, and it's already past 10 o'clock. Remember, that was the night in this old shitty building, the DC Armory, the toilets backed up, and they had to take like a 45-minute intermission because all the plane was running late we were on, and then the fucking scaffold they had to fucking build, and the people were ready to riot, and they wrote nasty letters. And meanwhile, we're in this fucking cab in a neighborhood somewhere. I'm looking at my watch. I said, buddy, do you know where you're going? Oh, yes. And he like turned left and he went somewhere else. He's lost, right? And he won't admit it. And finally, he stops somewhere and he's trying to read the road sign. And I said, no. And this time I was in the front. I said, fuck this. And I got on the microphone. Hello, Mr. Cab Company. And the guy is, well, hello. I said, I am in your fucking cab right now, one of your cabs, and this guy's got us lost in somebody's neighborhood, and we're supposed to be at the DC Armory, or we're all going to get fired. Can you tell this son of a bitch from where we are? And I gave him the cross street that we were at. We were at the corner of dipshit and fucked. And we need to get to the DC Armory. Can you tell this sorry son of a bitch driving this thing how to get us there? And yes, and they talked to each other, and the guy drove in silence, right? The rest, and we were only like 5 or 6 or 7, I can't remember. It was like a few minutes, however many blocks. And we're getting out at the front door of the thing. The show started at 8:30. It's like fucking going on 10:30, and we're still need to get in there and fucking change. And he had the nerve to tell us what the ride would be. And that's what Dennis was going to kill him. He was going to fucking throw him over the goddamn cab. And that's why I said, no, the ride is fucking free. We are paying you nothing. You're lucky he don't kill you. We'll see you later, never. And we ran in the goddamn building and had a shitty scaffold match. If anybody can send me their ticket stub of that night, I'll send you your money back. How about that?
It tells you how cheap tickets were back then.
Hey, are you insinuating that I am penurious with a penny?
I'm saying it's an easy deal to make. For anyone who was at that baseball game in 1950 and upset, let me know. I'll refund you $350.
Hey, there was like 6,000 or 7,000 people there that night. So I don't know. I mean, many of them still have their ticket stub now. That may be another matter. Anyway, speaking of measuring people, fans, viewership, they've put the candle back, Brian. They have changed the ratings back. The ratings of the wrestling programs are back up to where they were before because they changed the ratings back. As we've been following this, everything was chugging along, and then suddenly Mr. Nielsen and his kids came out with a brand new, improved space age gourmet way to measure that's going to be better than ever. We can rebuild this better than ever before. And as soon as they instituted that, all the wrestling programs fell off a fucking cliff. And that was several months ago. And it, to the extent that even CW Network complained specifically about their new method, and nobody was able to explain why the wrestling programs were the hardest hit. A few others were of various kinds, but not to the degree of wrestling. And it was almost like it was a fucking targeted hit. But then they finally decided, well, we're just going to just go back to the old way. And immediately all the wrestling numbers are back in the same place they fucking were. Just, Brian, I will let you explain it in a more learned and scholarly way than I just did, but I just explained it for the people who just now think that this whole goddamn deal is a bunch of bullshit.
It's hard not to. The entire premise before any adjustments was such a crazy mathematical equation created by Nielsen. Then they change it after you accept this bullshit system that is completely inaccurate. They change it because they say they have a way to make it more accurate and count various ways of consuming media into the number. And then we heard complaints, and again, specifically about wrestling. And it was right around the time, it wasn't even just that CW complained, they had just made the NXT deal. They were expecting to deliver more to the advertisers. They did nothing wrong. And somehow they've made an adjustment and everything is crazy up now. But it makes you question, what's the legitimate number? The number that they said was going to be the more accurate one, or the adjustment?
Or the number they said was going to be the more accurate one.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Which of the more accurate numbers is more accurate? The fuck?
You know, the idea that AEW is up right now, I actually do believe. I don't know what percentage up. And again, the numbers, if the whole idea is so many of the audience members have moved over to Max, that doesn't explain growth in the numbers now from where they were with the other method. But AEW is doing a better job now of pleasing AEW fans than they were a year and a half ago, a year ago, whatever. They're making their base happy now.
Well, yeah, and I will say that the same thing equally for WWE and AEW. I'm not picking on either one. It's not a question, though, of whether anything is legitimately up or down. It's a question of the same show suddenly does 150,000 more fucking people with the different rating method than it has for the last 3 months.
Well, for instance,
that's just, there's something has been wrong somewhere. And that's for both of these programs. Dynamite and SmackDown, I think, both got a bump of almost a couple 100,000 people. And it makes sense because they're the most widely viewed shows that are in this particular dogfight because Raw's on Netflix. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Well, and not talking about Raw, because like you said, it's on Netflix, but WrestleNomics, Brandon Thurston put together a graph here. The total viewership live and same day. So this is what it was from September 22nd until January 25th with big data plus panel. And then from January 26th to now, a little over a month, with big data and panel the new way. So TNA Impact, which had just begun on January 15th, went from 172,000 average to 232. AEW Collision on TNT was averaging 266,000. It's now 478,000. That's a big jump. Dynamite on TBS went from 492 as the average to 651. NXT on CW went from 594 to 671. And finally, SmackDown on USA Network went from 1,095,000 on average to 1,219,000. So, big improvements for wrestling.
The biggest improvement is for Collision, which, let me ask you this question. What were those numbers before they changed to the Big Daddy plus panel ratings to begin with, those were about the numbers that they were doing before.
Give or take, I believe, yeah.
So what... There has been some variation, again, of other different types of programming. Nobody can still put their finger on why it's just wrestling that has this wild swing and this methodology. But again, none of these programs had the level of gain or loss that pro wrestling across the board did. But why is it... Did they upgrade their service just for fucking wrestling? If wrestling is really the only thing it's affected to a appreciable degree, what the fuck are we all on about here? We might as well just go back to sending 50 cents in the mail with a postcard, fill in what you're watching and mail it back to us.
It turns out their big adjustment was they added 3 more wrestling fans to the pool of people who let them know what they watch. The Mighty 3, we're calling them. They watch all the wrestling shows, apparently.
They may have put out a lot more boxes in Cucamonga and parts of Campbell by the Sea. But I guess we'll stay abreast of this method now to see if there's any wild fluctuations or if possibly, what has this done to the professional bull riding industry? If the bull riders are down, they may be pissed off and say, hey, go back to the old way.
That's right.
Who else is this going to piss off now?
The bull riders, or as TKO call them, when are they going to make some fucking money? But we'll see what happens with the bull riders. I guess just one last thing on this from my end. For anyone who thinks we haven't been covering the ratings because AEW's ratings are up, it's because we don't have the quarter hours. We can't do a segment talking about the ratings without quarter hours.
Yeah, here's one number for you overall. We don't know where it started, we don't know where it ended, but here's just the number.
I'd love to break it down.
If anyone out there, discussion.
Yeah, if anyone out there unofficially has quarter hours, get in touch. We'd love to do more segments about the quarter hour breakdowns.
They've locked those up like the recipe over at KFC.
That was right around the same time, too, right? Right when they made the big adjustment, all of a sudden it was like, well, who's this guy reporting these numbers? Let's shut that down. Doesn't mean the numbers went away.
Has anybody
Tony's still getting them. Tony's still getting quarter hours.
Well, but has anybody seen that guy that was leaking them since then? Or has he been dealt with?
No comment.
Well, speaking of people being dealt with, apparently Netflix has been dealt with, Brian. They're dealt out of this. Paramount is now going to get WBD because they've not only offered more money actually, they've offered like 10 times the value of the fucking company, but it's being guaranteed by the rich multi-hundred billionaire fuck that owns it, Ellison, who is a crony of Trump's, and so he can get the approval in the criminal enterprise that runs the country. But Paramount, for a staggering amount of money, is getting all of WBD. I don't see how it's possible that they're even going to be able to make the debt service, much less make a profit on this deal. But besides wrestling, just for a second, our media in the United States is constricting, and for nefarious purposes. CBS News is already compromised because it's under this guy's umbrella, and he's a Trumpian. And already CBS News has been gutted, and the people with integrity have started to quit. Now CNN will be under the control of the same umbrella, and you won't be able to trust CNN. They won't be able to speak freely because of their ownership. So are they trying to turn that into another Fox News? But they're going to be in control of silencing multiple news operations before the 2028 elections, even before possibly the midterms, who knows? So combined with the voter suppression and the gerrymandering districts to cheat for the Republicans, they're doing the full court press to steal this thing. And this is going to be a big part of it. There are now going to be very few major network news outlets or news stations in this country that you can trust tell the truth about Trump. But as for the wrestling, it's better, Brian, help me. It's better for Tony in terms of Netflix not owning it, because if they don't change anything, then Tony will still be on these networks and HBO Max and whatever the fuck. But they're going to go so far in debt. Are they going to spend the money they have spent on Tony Khan's wrestling to still, it's several 100,000 people, but it's not a few million people, and it's never going to be. And you can't make the case that it potentially will be. What is that going to be worth it to them, to a company that's in debt to the point where the grandkids of people that run the thing are never going to get out of it?
I don't think it'll matter, because I think they'll be in debt one way or the other. The price tag for AEW content is relatively cheap. For fresh 52 weeks of content, pretty cheap. It's good for AEW, but it's cheap for what they pay for content. The bigger issue will be, I don't know if you call it conflict of interest or a sudden conflict, but it's going to be when Paramount's relationship with TKO affects AEW. And again, I don't know, and I don't want to intimate that I do, I don't know all the details about how this works now. In terms of the Warner Brothers Discovery 9+% of AEW, their television contract, and anything going forward. I mean, this is kind of all new ground. It's positive for Tony Khan and it's negative for Tony Khan. There's a lot of question marks right now. There are people that think the Ellison kid is like the Tony Khan of media all of a sudden.
No.
I mean, think about it. Just some billionaire's kid all of a sudden is going to run the biggest studio. So I don't know what to think about all that, but it may push forward what Tony Khan probably has to do long-term for viability, which is have his own platform and really have that be where, again, if we're talking about a fan base where 140,000 of them are buying the pay-per-views every month. I know Dave Meltzer has said that he did his own research and it's like 140,000 different people each month. Get the fuck out of here.
Oh.
It's the same people buying these shows. They're loyal to AEW. If that audience would support a Tony Khan website, I say Tony Khan website, an AEW Ring of Honor hub, where maybe Tony could buy more content, and quite frankly, it's what he should have been doing the last few years, is purchasing as much classic content as he could. That's what's going to be Tony Khan's saving grace for long-term survivability of AEW, I think.
I don't see how he could get people to pay
to cover his costs. Yeah.
To cover the costs of, and again, yes, the program may be cheap in comparison to other programming that they might get, but it also might run into some guy that just don't want it no more. We don't know, but
you always risk running into the person that thinks wrestling is WWE and anything else is second rate, whether they know anything or not.
Well, or the person who thinks WWE is second rate and they just have disdain for the whole thing. We've found plenty of those. And, again, it just depends. But the Paramount enterprise is now going to own so many things in so many different networks, so many different clicks of your cable box, so many means of, dissemination, that nobody will really even know that these 15 or 20 TV networks that they may be, everything from Cartoon Network to goddamn CNN is going to be under the same umbrella. And, you don't know what changes are going to come up with that type of thing. Maybe AEW won't be big enough for them to necessarily worry about. They got bigger fish to fry. Just leave it as it is.
I think that's exactly what it'll be until they get a phone call from Nick Khan or Ari Emanuel up the ladder from Nick Khan. then we'll see what happens. But if it's, hey, you're carrying our UFC shows, why are you carrying some other company's wrestling shows? You should be getting stuff from us. That's what it'll be.
And didn't they pay over $1 billion for the UFC rights?
I believe so.
On the last deal.
And again, UFC, I've seen them featured on CBS Mornings, where fucking Gayle King fawns over Beyonce. All of a sudden they have UFC on that show. So they've spent a lot of money on UFC.
So we shall see. UFC, we shall see what the future will bring for all these new networks under the same umbrella. And unfortunately, you know, the people on the outsides of the umbrella always get a little bit on them, Brian.
I guess that's the thing when you talk about AEW and you try to picture a future without Warner Brothers Discovery, and you have to start thinking about that. Who's going to pay them anything in that range for the broadcast rights? What other rights are they going to want? Are they going to expect an ownership stake like Warner Brothers Discovery got? What can Tony do on his own? Again, it's not some small budget wrestling show. It's WWE level budget at times. Certainly roster size and how much they're getting paid. It's going to be an interesting period forward for AEW. I mean, again, they do have a large part of their audience that's transactional. How do you really make that work so that you don't have to rely on some other network? I don't know.
You know what I miss? I miss the days when a regular person could become a multi-millionaire wrestling promoter. Because now, to be a wrestling promoter, you already need to be a multi-millionaire. And there's pretty much no chance that anybody else is going to go from a multi-millionaire to a billionaire in a wrestling business again. You either are already one or you ain't going to make it. But it's just ridiculous. It has gotten to this point that it is just ridiculous. And now I'll close up with this. We did the discussion sometime back, where could any other, not just AEW, but any wrestling promotion that wanted to try to prosper and grow outside the WWE umbrella and challenge them or whatever, where could they go to get any kind of deal? What networks, platforms interested in wrestling and have any money to spend and have any viewership to speak of? And right now, Tony Khan is on pretty much the only other platform that is not already doing business with the WWE, or that you would want to be on to begin with if you were really a big deal. Do I forget anybody that we left out? There's no place else to go to make a big enough offer, to be a big enough player, to get a big enough audience, to do anything. Is there?
I always think there's a way, but it also depends on the people and a lot of different things. I don't know. You know, it's interesting when you talk about the Sinclair Broadcasting getting back into wrestling thing. You know, if they're doing a deal with NWA for Roar or for broadcast and talking to other small companies about having their shows on some of their channels, it tells you something. Because they sold Ring of Honor, and it wasn't for a lot of money. Like, it wasn't going to change anything for Sinclair. It's a major company. They just didn't want to own the wrestling company. But now it's a few years later, and they realize we missed the wrestling numbers. We missed the wrestling viewers. They're regular. They come back every week. So there's still that value there, but you know, as everything gets more fragmented on a smaller level, and on a bigger level, everything's consolidated into very few homes, you know, homes being Paramount being a home. It'll be interesting to see what kind of opportunities can open up for someone. But again, it always comes down to who are the promoters? Who are the bookers? I hate to say this, but there aren't a lot of people out there who you would take seriously.
No.
There's plenty of people promoting independent wrestling. And if they walked into your business, you wouldn't think, oh, this is a serious human being. You would think, who's this slob? So I think, that's one of the big differences today versus in the past. Even independent promoters in the past tried to put on the airs, tried to fool people into thinking they had money, just something. But it's a different world.
Well, but Sinclair is going to find out. Here's one thing: is they owned the thing, and we still couldn't get, that we couldn't get them to give a cripple crab a crutch. But they're going to find out that level of small time wrestling, they're not going to have control over. They're not going to have a piece of. They're not going to have ancillary income from. They're just going to hope the local station sells time. That ain't going to fly unless they're going to be more involved. And even then, we saw what happened last time. So I don't hold out a ton of hope. They got great TV real estate. But if you've got a show like I haven't seen the NWA in a long time, and I probably won't change that. But that show with little local promotion and support at the grassroots level for the stations, which is what we tried to gin up in a variety of places, it's gonna be a very negligible difference.
Hey, on the topic of wrestling television shows, if we can call it that, what are your thoughts on the idea that Tony Khan is going to have Ring of Honor do a studio show in Jacksonville at the television station?
Oh, good Lord. Between the fact that none of those guys have ever done a studio show, and probably few of them have ever been in a television station, and by the studio is in the station, you got to interact with all the other professional TV people and their business guests who are coming in. And suddenly here's 40 fucking wrestlers and this whole operation. There's going to be some kind of fucking lawsuit. I don't see how they can possibly do what they do in an arena that must be a hell of a size television studio in Jacksonville, or elsewise nobody's going to be able to jump off the top rope. We'll see how it looks, but I'm sure the station is friends with the Tony Khan empire since they're in Jacksonville, and he probably spares no expense to give them a nice production contract to do this show so that he can drive down from home and play wrestling on another night of his goddamn life. This guy is going to blow up.
Now, this is what he's built for. This is all he dreams about. This is everything for him. How do you think Ian Riccaboni will do as a studio commentator, which is obviously a very different job than being in an arena?
I didn't know he was going to be the announcer, but
I thought he was the Ring of Honor. I thought he was still the Ring of Honor. I thought he was still the Ring of Honor TV commentator. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I don't know, but as I said, I haven't seen the show, but I think he'll do fine. He's a smart guy, good, well-spoken, quick on the, verbal command. I think that should be fine for him as a transition. I don't know about all the boys, and girls, the talent, not being able to, contain themselves to a small environment of that nature. And also, as well as figuring out that, they're probably only going to have cameras on two sides if it's a normal television studio, and the whole 9 yards. But it's something for Tony where he can be close to one of his collections.
Guys, we have some news. We're going to be doing Ring of Honor no longer from the arena. We're going to be in a television studio. All right, great. I guess Tony will be too busy. Also, we'll be in Jacksonville, right down the street from Tony.
And you know why that is, don't you, Brian?
No.
That's so that Tony, every night after he comes back from the Ring of Honor TV tapings that he has booked in his palatial estate, he can sleep in his own bed. That's the whole thing. He's wanting to sleep in his own bed.
Smart.
Okay. Even a billionaire like Tony Khan knows that the right way to be comfortable is to go home every night after whatever you've been doing, out carousing around the town or producing wrestling, and sleep in your own bed, because that's where the Helix Sleep mattress is. And that's where everybody wants to be. More people want to lay down on a Helix Sleep mattress than wanted to lay down on Marilyn Monroe in the 50s. Have you heard that statistic?
Not an official statistic.
No, that was blessed by the Gallup poll. They and everybody said, giddy up. But nevertheless, folks,
awful.
All you got to do, I'm telling you, all you got to do is go to helixsleep.com. That's HELIX sleep.com. And you just take their quiz. We've been talking about them for years because they have been responsible for all of our slumber times. The men in the family, the women in the family, the kids in the family, the puppy dogs in the family. As a matter of fact, they've got the brand new puppy dog mattress that is just, it's a round little thing.
No, they don't.
And actually it has kibble pockets on the sides of it. But if that's only if you
funny idea, but not something they carry or will carry ever.
No, that's only if you can have your dog personally fill out the Helix Sleep quiz. You're not allowed to do it for him. So that's a little prize for the smarter puppies. Folks, if you take the Helix Sleep quiz, it'll match you with the perfect mattress that they face or they produce based on your personal preferences and sleep needs. Are you in pain? Are you sleeping on your side in a restless manner? Are you waking up in the middle of the night screaming, the Russians are coming? They need to know all these things, and then they'll pick you out the perfect mattress. They'll ship it to you. It's the most award-winning mattress brand that there is. I'm telling you, they love to lay people down flat. Free shipping, the seamless delivery. A person wearing white gloves and a hazmat suit will go to your porch and put the box down and then slowly back into the bushes.
A normal delivery person, no hazmat.
Well, there'll be no spreading of germs because the Helix Sleep mattress comes all sealed up and ready to be unfolded and poofed out. When you take off the wrapping right in the privacy of your own home, you can go poof. And most people want to go poof in private. And there's a 120-night sleep trial. In case if you don't like it, you can send it back. You got to call the same guy to come, but this time he's not going to be wearing gloves and a hazmat suit. He's going to have a pissed off look on his face because he doesn't like lugging these things back.
Again,
if you want to be a prick,
you won't be a prick, but you won't need to do that because it's a great mattress that you will love. We love them here, and Jim Cornette loves them over there. And of course, your delivery person wouldn't be the same person as the person bringing it back. Not that that's what you would want to do, ladies and gentlemen.
I'll tell you what, Helix ran a study.
No, they didn't.
They did.
They absolutely didn't.
No, they really did. It says so right here.
Oh.
And they said 82% of those involved saw an increase in their deep sleep cycle while sleeping on a Helix mattress. It says so right here. I won't quote the statistics on the people that saw an increase in their menstrual cycle.
There's no statistic on that, but let's get...
Well, it depends on whether it's a full moon.
Let's put a period on that, and let's move on to the next sentence.
Well, I'll be glad to skip on ahead and not try to pad this segment any further. Folks, right now, you can save a lot of fucking money and have a good place to sleep, to lay your weary bones down after a hard day at work, or potentially, if you're some type of sex worker, you'll be laying your bones down on this for work, and then I guess you sleep standing up for a change. But nevertheless, go to helixsleep.com/JCE right now, 27% off site-wide. You can just buy these mattresses, open your own store. You automatically know that you're going to make a 27% profit. Well, if you just buy like 100 mattresses from Helix and get 27% off, then you can open a store, just move a squat in a vacant building, put up a sign.
It's the worst advice in every way.
And sell them for 27% more than you paid for them. And it's still retail. You're not screwing anybody. You made a profit. So order 100 mattresses today at helixsleep.com/JCE. 27% off site-wide.
That's right. A great mattress. Again, we love them here. Buy as many as you want.
Got to get 100.
For personal use, if you want to talk retail, why don't you give them a call? But helixsleep.com/JCE.
They moved these things off the Schedule 1 list so you can go ahead and resell it and not get beaten with clubs and thrown in jail.
You won't get thrown in jail. You won't get beaten with clubs. Once again, helixsleep.com/JCE.
Here's a palate cleanser for you. Brian, did you hear about Teddy Hart?
No,
apparently not.
I have not heard a thing about Teddy Hart, maybe in a couple of years.
Did you hear about, apparently Davey Boy Smith Jr., Bulldog's son, is on a tour in Canada with a Canadian wrestling federation of some description. And apparently somebody had broken into somebody's car and stole Davey Boy's bag, and his dad's Hall of Fame ring was in it, and etc. Well, the guy tried to pawn the ring, so the pawn shop guy knew what was up because it had gotten publicity. They called the cops. They got the guy. They got Davey Boy Jr.'s stuff back. But at one of the Canadian tour events, Teddy Hart just showed up and just wandered in, I guess, to visit.
Oh, get out of here. I didn't even know he was out or about, or, in Canada.
I don't know. Did they ever put him in? I don't know. I don't know where he's been or what he's been doing or what the legal dispensation of his last brushes with trouble were. But there was a picture on Twitter of him standing next to Davey Boy Jr.'s picture table, and I guess autographing something or whatever. But apparently at this show, he comes in, he starts doing this, he starts making a scene to the point where people believe that he's trying to get attention or start trouble or something. He's trying to do something. And it came down to BJ Annis was a guy who married one of Stu Hart's daughters. And so he had a gym. BJ Annis did, and a lot of the guys worked out at the gym. Apparently, there was a bodybuilder who was a friend of BJ Annis's there, that gave Teddy Hart the option, I will either drive you to and this was the term, psychiatric ward. I will either drive you to a psychiatric ward or the police can do it.
Wow.
And Teddy chose, well, go ahead, you do it then. And they took him off to a goddamn mental institution or a mental health facility. I don't know how they term it up there in for when you take a wrestler to a rubber room at the puzzle factory. What is the terminology?
Yeah, Vince didn't correct that officer. He said, you need medical attention. You need to go to the hospital. A medical facility.
Yeah, no, it's a medical facility, pal. But yeah, so Teddy, in and out, quick comeback. So I no word on whether they advised that he stay there at the psychiatric ward or not.
Yeah, did they take his cats? That's another question I would have. Remember they had that documentary series about him? It was the craziest shit ever. Oh my God, that was the greatest.
I think he was catless on this experience. Homelessness is one thing, but catlessness.
I was afraid you were going in another direction because I just saw there was something. I think I saw a post from Diana Hart saying that like Davey Boy Smith's Hall of Fame ring and a few other ring-worn things and Davey Boy Smith things that the family had were stolen. I was afraid you were about to say Teddy Hart stole them.
No. I'm sure he's probably sold all the Hart family memorabilia that he can get his hands on already.
How good was he?
Anyway.
Well, you saw him really early on when WWE first tried to do something with him because he had all that buzz from being a teenager doing flips in a ring in Canada. How good could he have been if he had had his head on?
Oh, he was a tremendous athletic performer, and he could do he could do stuff in the ring, the backflip off the high cage and land on his feet and all that stuff and all the spots, as well as actually work actual wrestling to, some degree. That's not the issue. The issue is what did hold him back to some extent, but not nearly as much as his weirdness and mental status, was that he's still so small. But again, he could have been a, young kid's masked superhero in the WWF or, whatever the fuck, or they could, if he, as a member of the Hart family and being that talented a performer, he would have never been on a Bret Hart level, but he certainly would have been used on the roster in a very comfortable position. But he's just nuts and unsavory and whatever all the other things are that are wrong with him.
Well, good luck, Teddy.
Good luck, Teddy, as you're charging up San Juan Hill. All right, should we go on now to, speaking of charging San Juan Hill, Denver is the Mile High City. I wonder if they had to charge all the way up the fucking mountain. Should we go to AEW, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, yeah, I guess it's that time of day. Let's get to AEW Dynamite from Denver, Colorado, the Mile High City. A better home for it. They had a hot crowd, I gotta say. They had a crowd that was really into what they were doing. But let's talk about it.
That's what oxygen deprivation will do for people. Make them like AEW wrestling. Because, the farther up you can get them, the higher they are, the more they're going to like this shit. So they started again with the comments from, some people in the main events, or what they call the main events, including the comments from the girls' tag teams, and more on that later. And a package for the FTR and Hardly Boys issue, where now apparently on Collision, FTR beat up the Buckaroos' dad again.
He put his hands on them first. Did you see the clip they showed?
Well, yes, but the point is, they beat this. Remember, they beat him up, and he got either a rotten or a fake juice job like 5 years ago.
Oh, that was Jericho and MJF.
Yeah, there you go. And I don't know if they ever got even for that either. But this time they beat up dad, shoved mom, and pile drove the brother. And boy, does the brother look like every lump you'd ever see walking down the street.
Again, that hairline, that famous Bucks family hairline.
Woo. And again, the daddy Buck is no actor, no thespian. But tonight they're mad, and they're going to have Mile High madness because the Buckaroos are mad. Oh, color me frightened. But between all of that and the announcer billboards and the plugs, they're 5 minutes into the show, and then we hear Moxley music. And I'm like, geez, every week now. The first thing we see from these people is Dick the Boozer. And this was an eliminator match with El Clown. And I'm not, again, I started watching, they tried chain wrestling, and it looked like two drunks playing Twister in slow motion. With here, I put my foot up, and then I push down, and your knee goes down, and then you do this, and like left hand red. They weren't even laying in the shoulder tackles. They just stopped when they ran into a guy. I don't know if it was faker or more boring. Like, was the boring but worse than the fakery, or the fakery worse than the boringness?
The fakery was worse, because I wasn't as bored, because I actually am entertained by El Clown. He wrestles differently than everyone else, so I kind of dig that. Moxley sucks. And I know that a lot of people get mad every time I point out that his work is terrible and it looks bad. He doesn't lay things in, and they go, well, you're not a wrestler. You don't know. Well, I know more than you. I know more than you. He sucks. He's the worst. He's so bad.
And I know more than all of you, and I agree with you. No brag, just fact. So 16 minutes it took for Moxley to beat a masked midget that will never mean anything anywhere. And it was just fake, and the fakeness of the fakery of it. So then...
if I may ask you a question about this, I have to say the Buck's dad looks like social worker Waylon Mercy. But what do you think about them beginning, it seems like? I mean, I could be wrong. I don't have all my notes in front of me, but I think the first match on Dynamite has been a Moxley match for the last 2-3 weeks, right? It's like every week.
Every week.
What are they trying to do with that?
Well, I guess Tony thinks that because they've decided to lie in a different fashion about the ratings now that we know that all the numbers are bullshit and made up, that what he's been doing the past couple weeks has been working. So he decided to keep doing it. So we'll probably see this for, remember when he was convinced that people wanted to tune in at the top of the hour and see pockets? So we had to endure the company mascot for 20 minutes every week at 9:00.
Again, it is important to know.
Goddamn principle.
It is important to know we're not getting quarter hours. Tony is. So, and I'm not a Moxley fan, and I like to think that people see him and want to throw their TV out the window, SCTV style. But if he is moving the numbers, the only person, not the only person, but Tony would know if he was or wasn't, either moving them or holding them.
But that's the thing, is you can't move the numbers if you're on first. Remember, everybody traditionally in AEW since the dawn of the show, when we were getting to quarter hours, the first 15 minutes is the goddamn biggest quarter hour. So is that not a self-fulfilling prophecy? Is it the biggest quarter hour because Moxley's in it? Or is he just putting Moxley in it, but it'd be the biggest quarter hour anyway? Which came first? The plumber or the fucking boozer?
That's Moxley math.
And that's why you're going to end up with goose eggs every time. All right. Swerve Strickland is a heel now. After he laid out Kenny last week, drove him through the announcer's desk. So apparently Kenny could go to Japan because he's been committed to go to a video game convention of some description. Is that what it is? Or some type of Japanese culture meeting that they go to?
He's doing something with video games, so they did another injury angle for something that everyone knew he was doing already.
How long is this goddamn convention going to take? 6 weeks? Why do you need to hurt a guy who's going to be in another country for 10 days?
How would Kenny react if Tony said no? Actually, you know what? I kind of need you here right now. I kind of am trying to do something here. It would really help if you were around. Could Kenny deal with that? Could Kenny say, okay, I'll sacrifice my personal desires this one time and help the company?
Well, in all fairness, they did release the information. He got a contractual commitment. He signed a contract. He's got to be there. Of course, he signed a contract with Tony for millions of dollars.
Or he'll get sued in Japan.
Well, that's where he'd rather be than anywhere else, so he don't want to fucking shit where he eats.
You said Swerve turned heel. We'll talk about this promo. Maybe the most refreshing thing in this whole thing for me was Nana turned heel.
Yes. And actually sounds like he's trying to mean it here. But here's the thing. Didn't Swerve kind of turn babyface because they started cheering him when he was a heel before? And they kind of wanted him to turn. And he did. And then he, fucking apologized and buried the hatchet with Page to a degree about the house burning and the blood drinking and all that stuff. At least so they could coexist.
Baby terrorizing.
And mutual respect, though, over the baby terrorizing and the house burning. But now, for the last few months, he hadn't really done anything important or won anything big. So now he lays out Kenny and he's fucking saying he's going to be the world champion and he's going to the most dangerous guy in AEW, and the people are cheering him. Because they think, oh, now he's back to being a fucking winner again. This was still, they booed when he directly said, I fucked Kenny Omega in the ass with a barbed wire dildo. They booed at that, but otherwise, they cheered pretty much whatever he did. And they're still saying Swerve's house. And even the ones that are cheering for Kenny or booing him when he talks bad about Kenny, they're not pissed. Not really. They're just, oh, we don't want to hear you say that. But when Swerve, when he razzed back at one of the hecklers and the fans popped huge, loved it.
That was the biggest reaction of everything he said.
Yeah.
Your mama. I think that's what he said. Your mama. And they went crazy.
Yes. And otherwise, it's the same promo as always. He's dangerous. He's going to live his life with no regrets. He really wants to be the most dangerous man in AEW, and the fans cheer that idea.
But see, that's the thing. The whole promo, the idea was, and I thought it was one of his better promos. It should have been shorter. You shouldn't have had a break where you stopped talking. You could hear dead silence. That shouldn't have happened. But the idea, now this is all because he's upset that Kenny Omega said someone else was the most dangerous man in AEW. That is the stupidest reason I could think of. I couldn't even remember who he was talking about. Like, who did Kenny say was the most dangerous? Like, it's dangerous for Ibushi to move, but he's not the most dangerous. Like, who did Kenny say? I had no idea. I didn't even remember that.
I'm trying to think. It may have been Brody King.
I think later on they revealed it was Brody King because Brody King referenced it.
Yes. Well, just everybody wants to be the most dangerous. And really on this show with the number of injuries, that's title is way up in the air as to who the most dangerous son of a bitch in this fucking crew is.
The most dangerous is the ring.
It's not hurting people. The ring is not hurting anybody. It's the law of gravity that's to blame here.
My normal laugh will be back soon. I can't laugh yet.
Well, yeah, I don't want you to wheeze over it. But that's Swerve, by turning heel and laying out Kenny, has kind of made himself a stronger babyface overall.
That's what happened every time. Remember, he turned heel on Keith Lee.
I forgot.
When him and Rick Ross and the mogul associates of the tattooed guys who vanished, when they started, that was a heel stable for Swerve against babyface Keith Lee, who's apparently still plotting his comeback. We'll see what happens there. And then he was the heel whose entire gimmick was, I wear a coat. And then the fans started cheering him. Like even in the Adam Page feud, the fans were cheering him. And they turned him babyface, and we got to see the highlights and the lowlights of that. The house burning really bothered him. He uses that video in his entranceway.
They love to say Swerve's house.
That's it. That's the secret. You just got to come up with a catchphrase or a song with, whoa, anything like that. That's all you need nowadays. And a coat.
But that's at the end of the promo, the fans pretty much cheered. So, okay, we're with you. And again, this company has a problem making effective baby faces because the only thing that the fans come to see is people fucking use flamethrowers to cause chaos. They don't believe any of it. It's all horse shit. It's fake. They don't care most of the time who wins or loses, except, well, he's not nearly the worker that so-and-so is. He shouldn't have won, that type of thing. But there's no emotional investment. They just want to see people do stunts and risk getting hurt. And the heels are more interesting in that environment.
Well, the one babyface those fans do always get behind is Kenny Omega, and he's the one that keeps sending off or keeps having to be taken off TV. Again, I'll reiterate, though, I thought this was a better promo from Swerve. It went too long, but even the little thing of like standing on the desk, as opposed to just being in the ring doing it, it gave it a different look, and I thought it wasn't bad.
Well, I'm not even saying the promo was bad. I'm saying it's the same fucking
It's the same thing. Yeah, and again, the premise is ridiculous. And I really like seeing heel Nana. Nana getting on the mic and having some attitude has been needed for a long time.
And let's see if they'll let the manager actually do something to screw a major babyface out of something in a raw way without acting funny about it. That would be nice. That'd be interesting. Maybe that would lead to some manager in this company being established as something other than a fucking court jester. But again, with Swerve, and the only thing I was going to say with Swerve with the promo, I'm not saying he doesn't deliver it well. A lot of times it's meandering, but it's the same. There was no real change in attitude or demeanor or emotion from the way he normally talks. In terms of the delivery of he's gone from supposedly being a big baby face to the guy just hospitalized one of your heroes. There's not a lot of difference in these people when they turn from one side to another.
What needs to happen for Prince Nana to become King Nana? He's been Prince for a long time.
Yeah, but the king needs to die.
Who's the king?
No. If King No dies, then Prince Nana becomes King Nana. But he can't do it yet. No.
All right, well, back to the land of No, AEW Dynamite.
Pockets beat Gabe Kidd and Kevin Knight beat Mansoor. Or did Gabe Kidd beat Pockets? One or the other. I don't care. Jesus Christ, if I wanted to watch bad indie wrestling, I'd be watching the local OVW show.
I watched the Mansoor match. Who did he wrestle again? I forgot who it was already. But
Kevin Knight.
Kevin Knight, who's really good. But I was actually really impressed by Mansoor in the match. He did a lot of little things that made it more than a match that needs a lot of bumps or high spots. I thought he was really good in there. You didn't watch it. You can't growl. It's not worth a growl if you didn't see it.
It's such a silly, preposterous look and gimmick, and
it's not growl worthy.
The whole night. This guy should have fucking gotten a goddamn full face tattoo. Anything to separate himself from the gimmick he had in the WWE, and instead he's perpetuating it. So he's toast for anybody ever taking him seriously ever again anywhere.
Good match.
So then at 9:00, Tony Schiavone was in the ring, and once again we call out MJF and Hangnail Adam Page. Last week they confused the shit out of us with what they were trying to plainly state was that the stipulation that Page wants is a Texas death match, and MJF was willing to give him a match if Page agrees. If he loses, he'll never challenge for the world title again. But then they were going to think about it for a week, and MJF was going to come up with his counter proposal. Well, if MJF got a counter proposal, then why did they have to? Page should not have to give up ever wrestling for the world title again unless MJF agreed to the Texas death match. Because then Page is giving that up and agreeing to potentially be an MJF's gimmick. But do you see why this doesn't make sense?
Yeah, I saw why it didn't make sense last week, where it was Page would never go for the belt again, and they'll decide, and then the fans can decide, but they've already decided. Like, none of this is. And then you
decide. But the point is, unless MJF was going to be forced to take the Texas death match, and I'll put my future shots at the world title on the line, that was the deal, then it shouldn't be, I'll put my world title shots on the line no matter what you say. And then how about we have a Texas death match? Well, you come up with a stipulation and we'll flip a fucking coin. Well, then what did it fucking accomplish for you to put your fucking title shots on the line? Anyway, today we're going to find out what the stipulation is or was or is supposed to be or will be. And again, Tony stood mute in the corner. MJF laid out the premise, again, a little bit better than last week. and said he had a fair way to decide it's heads or tails is going to be the Texas death match, and heads is a no DQ for me match where I can't get disqualified, but you can. And this took long. This went a while. And again, Adam Page is just a bowl of oatmeal as a babyface, just standing there, just fucking bleh. And then Page said okay to the coin flip, but then he had to recite his cool teenage drama class material that he's memorized. Imagine if I'm tearing the very flesh from your body. I might put barbed wire in your mouth and tear your tongue out. You call yourself the devil, but this hell is mine. Oh, for Christ's sake. He got the fans to chant dog shit. And that was kind of apropos for this amateur hour type of thing, but he went on forever. And he calls for the coin flip, and MJF flips the coin, lands on the mat, tells Tony Schiavone to call it, picks it up, shows it to Tony, puts it back in his pocket, and he won. And he starts to leave, but Page says, no, wait a minute, give me the quarter. And MJF is like, oh, you've lost, I'm out of here. He tries to leave, and there's Brody King and Bandito and Kevin Knight and Spitball. I'm surprised that Hong Kong Phooey can walk upright wearing a title belt. That thing weighs 15 or 20 pounds. I can't believe he can stand up under it. And then they fucking run him back to the ring, and Brody King gets the coin, and it was two-headed. And then immediately Tony Schiavone, who's been standing in the fucking corner for 15 minutes, comes back to life and says, oh, Tony Khan just said, since you cheated, it's a Texas death match. So, as long as these baby faces are all such dipshits and uninteresting, and the booking is so blah, MJF has nothing to work with, and it's getting he's just doing the same thing now because he's got the same thing to fucking work with. Help me.
I can't help you. I've not liked this program. I did not like the segment last week. I really didn't like it this week again. To me, it's counterproductive to make MJF weak, and that's all they've done. He's a weak top heel who's behaving like a mid-card heel, and that's a problem. He's always outsmarted. He's always acting like he's scared or he's upset. They go after his emotions. Adam Page is an awful promo. Wrestling Observer promo of the year. Like in a vacuum where there's no one else doing promos anywhere. They don't sound real. Like you said, I mean, you know, I hear them and they sound ridiculous. And then when you recite it from what you've written down, it sounds even worse. So yeah, I'm not into this at all. I don't think it helps anyone to make MJF a weak heel. Adam Page is such a pathetic babyface, yet the AEW fans just sop it up. They love it. But this is not good. And these segments have not done anything to help these guys. Adam Page gives, like you said, a speech to make him feel cool. MJF, I'm guessing he has a lot of stuff he wants to get in there too. Because again, last week we saw the yelling MJF, the calm MJF, the whispering MJF. You know, this is obviously all of their ideas with Tony. This is what they want to do. They're happy with it, but goddamn, these segments have been long and awful. MJF should just cut them down. You want to act all high and mighty? You were a teacher, Mr. Waltz. What were you doing taking pictures of Marty Scurll? That would end it all. That would end it all like that. But no, this shit's been terrible. I'm a big MJF fan, but this feud has been a miss, and these segments, I think, have been counterproductive, especially if you want MJF to be a productive heel long-term there. He shouldn't be made to look this weak. And if you want someone to be the foil, send John Cruz out there to have him do the fucking coin thing. and gets scared by all the heels. It doesn't help.
Yes. They already beat him up and ran him off. Remember?
Yeah, that's right. I didn't remember. That's right.
He might have been interesting. But here's the problem. What are they doing here? I understand now. We all understand in hindsight what Cody did with that stipulation. I can never challenge for the world title. And then he went over and he got the TNT title. He was the first, whatever the point is, Cody in his mind knew, I don't want to be the world champion of anything because I got this angle about finishing my story in the back pocket. And he did that at the time, telling people he didn't want the people to think because he was an executive that he was pushing himself to the top. It was so he wouldn't dampen his fucking angle. And that was brilliant of him. Page has no such fucking realistic aspirations. They can't. It would be insanity to make Page the champion again and just gut and derail any weak momentum MJF might have since he's been back 2 months ago. And he barely has won. He barely wins anything. And but then if you have MJF win and Page can't challenge for the world title again, then these people expect them to hold that stipulation forever and not milk it for a year or two and then have a hot heel, have a serious issue with him, and goddamn the fans demand that he break his word, that type of thing that would have gone on in the territory days. They'll be mad if he goes back on his word, even if he gets screwed around by a heel and he's the babyface, because these fans have been taught strange fucking things. So what are they doing here?
It would make him the heel. It would be his heel turn if he said that. Now I want a world title shot. Yeah. Well, maybe part of the issue is Adam Page, the milquetoast cowboy. Perhaps he has milquetoast music taste, Jim, and perhaps he needs to listen to the right music with the right earbuds.
Well, what he needs is the right people in his ear, Brian. That's the way you got to say it. He needs the right people in his ear speaking to him where he can clearly hear them, not being muted or muffled by any outside forces. That's what he needs. And if that's what you need, folks, then we know the people that can speak to you. Raycon. Because they can speak to you, they can sing to you, they can instruct you. As a matter of fact, they can even enlighten, educate, and elucidate you. It just depends on what you're listening to, because with the brand new and ever popular Raycon earbuds, now the essential open earbuds, I should say, because we can't leave out essential. The essential open earbuds are going to let you block out what you want to block out and listen to what you want to listen to while still keeping you cognizant and alert of the world around you and the things that are going on, so you won't get run over by a bread truck or potentially have a safe fall on your head. Actually, many of the new essential open earbud sets have radar also.
No, I knew it.
Where if there's a plummeting device headed anywhere towards you within a 10-foot radius, suddenly when it's about 20 feet over your head, you'll hear beep, 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 beep. And then just jump, just go, just dive somewhere. As long as you get 5.5 feet away, you'll be out of that 10-foot radius.
For the record, no radar feature with Raycon. No radar with Raycon. That's the Raycon promise.
The people told me that's why I was beeping.
What people?
Whenever they say I was beep, 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 beep. And they said, well, that's your radar. But that is when I was heavier and I took up more space. Folks, the essential open earbuds, they're really light. The ear hook part rotates. So they stay in, but you can turn your head. Because let's say you want to turn your head, you just take these earbuds off, you switch the ear hook around the other way, and you put it back on, and you're in another direction. You can wear them at the gym, on walks, doing stuff around the house, engaging in carnal knowledge. They won't fall out except in reverse cowgirl position, and they don't get uncomfortable. So that means unless you're slapped in the head by a family member or close friend or a neighbor, if you catch a palm right to one of these things, you'll need tweezers to get it out of your ear.
Once
Raycon
again, something you won't need to worry about and something that you don't need to worry about.
Watch your mouth and you won't need to worry about it.
And it won't happen.
Be careful when you pop off.
But Jim, why don't we focus on the great sounds, the great music, the great earbuds, the great deal for the listener?
Yes, the 3 million customers that Raycon has. No celebrity endorsements. It's running up the bill. No retail markup stuff. No, these things are still sold either online or from the back of a panel van, the way that American commerce was built. And if you don't want to go down to 4th Street in the corner of 4th and Vine and find that panel van, because, since that guy got on crack, he's not as reliable as he used to be. You could just now go to the website.
That's right.
Yes, instead of going down to 4th and Vine. Did you, and also I have a feeling because the last 3 pair I got from the guy at 4th and Vine, they had earwax hanging off of them. I think he'd been using them. But folks, right now, if you go to buyraycon.com, that's BUYRAYCON.com/JCE open, you're going to get 20% off. 20% off with the code JCE open. That's because I'm opening the door for you to save all this money. So again, kind of a money-making opportunity here. Buy 100 of these earbuds, 100 pair. And then just go find some empty storefront and sell them for 20% more than you pay for them. You're still at retail price, and the suckers won't know the difference because they don't listen to my show. So you're guaranteed to make 20% profit on the deal.
No, you're not guaranteed. There's no guarantees. If you want to open up a store, contact Raycon, deal with them directly. But if you want great earbuds for you, your friends, your family, whoever you want to buy them for or send the link to, we're talking about buyraycon.com/JCE open.
Yeah, but they're not going to give you a deal if they know you want to go into competition with them. You got to, use our name. You'll get a fucking good price. You'll get the 20% off, and then go somewhere far away, take a poster board, write earbuds here, and just sell them and say finay. And we'll tell our wives we're going to a convention. Buyraycon.com/JCE open, 20% off. Thank you, Raycon, for your sponsorship and for the manufacture of these essential open earbuds where you can hear all the things you want to hear and still not be killed by a falling safe.
Raycon.
Well, Brian, before we move on here, what is going on in the Arcadian Vanguard world this fine week? And then we'll get back to Tony Khan's delirium tremens.
Yeah, I'm not feeling that great today, folks, so let's do this quick. The Wrestling News, wherever you find your favorite podcast, or thewrestlingnews.com. This week on Stick to Wrestling with John McAdam, a look at 40 years ago, 1986, in the NWA, Jim Crockett Promotions, McAdamPod.com, wherever you find your favorite podcast. Shut Up and Wrestle with Brian Solomon, an interview with wrestling promoter Gary Juster. Hear that today, SUAWpod.com. And, of course, the 605 Superpodcast, the mothership. Go through the archive. Even you had no effort on that. Go through the archive, 605pod.com. Available wherever you find your favorite podcast.
Your lung capacity will be back by next week. Well, speaking of capacity and the brain's capacity to process what's going on, the Women's Tag Team Championship match on AEW, it ended abruptly with an unplanned ending. There was a potential injury that now I understand is not that severe. There were a lot of other potential injuries that did not materialize in this thing. And there was some controversy afterwards over the silliest shit I've ever heard. So let's do this in order. Let's talk about the match. Megan Brain and Penelope Pitstop were going to challenge Willow Nightingale and Harley Cameron for the women's tag team title. And without trying to be overly critical or potentially verbally cruel to anybody, let's face it, Megan, if she had anything she'd be in the NXT program with looking like that, with that size. But she is, we ought to call her Megan McGee. She's Tom McGee. She has a great look and she can do athletic things, but she's not good. She's not smart. She's awkward. She can't put it together in a wrestling context. And I think when we talked about her earlier, she's been around for years now, not months, in various places. Penelope Pitstop. She is the female Johnny Gargano. Have you noticed this? Even when she got hurt, her facial expression didn't change. She is robotic and lifeless. She does all this stuff, but she's going through the motion of doing it. I got to go here. I got to go there. I got to do this. She's thinking about it. You can see it on her face. But it's indie level girl stuff. Harley Cameron should be the star of her own musical comedy variety show. She is not a wrestler. And poor Willow is the only one of the four that should even be trying to do this, to be quite honest with you. And she was handicapped because everybody else is greener than a pepper tree. So just the first minute, it was awkward. It was sloppy. It was too complicated. They were all running through a routine. These spots, when they think of them, they also in their mind think of them doing them correctly or gracefully or fluidly. But they sound good when they think about it, but then they're just shoving each other into things and running hither and yon and landing on people. And I wrote before somebody even got hurt, somebody's going to get hurt. Nobody tells them to calm down and just do the shit that they can do well. There is nobody say, wait a minute. You're just running around back and forth, doing things to each other with no structure and trying to do all this shit. Just calm down and do the shit you do well. If we can find what those things are. Did you see Willie?
That Willie
Nightingale and Harlow Cameron. They did the double back senton splash right on top of poor Penelope. What the and her expression didn't change then. When she got 350 pounds dropped on her fucking tits. And then there was a spot where they double clotheslined both the heels over the top rope backwards. And of course, the heels line up and wait in position, grabbing the rope, ready to jump for like 5 seconds, and the faces run and do it. And Penelope almost broke her leg on that one. When she went over the top rope backwards, she landed with one foot on the apron, the other one dangling, and kicked off and dropped to the floor. I've never seen, I don't know what it was. There was a fake four-way on the floor. It was like a video of Marks playing wrestling. And then they did the spot where Megan did a dive and then held both the baby faces. And think about this, Brian. The heels are the one doing the dive and then doing the beautiful moonsault off the top rope backwards. Why are the heels doing all this shit? It's the baby faces that are supposed to do the exciting, graceful fucking moves. And the heels are supposed to fucking cheat. You idiots. You got to hospitalize yourself. You don't even know what side you're on. So Megan does the dive, holds both the baby faces, and Penelope, the heel, does a moonsault off the top rope onto the floor onto both of these fucking people. But she goes right in between them and landed on the floor. And that was their break spot. So they went to the break, but you could see her get up. They had picture in picture. She got up and started walking. But then apparently she had hurt her ankle and they were checking her out. And by the time they came back from the break, Penelope was gone. And it was Willow making a comeback on Megan. And then Harley didn't come back in until the heel girl manager just jumped in out of nowhere and hit Willow with a title belt to cause a disqualification. So Penelope hurt herself on the moonsault and had an ankle injury, and they just took her away somewhere. And they called an audible for the heel girl manager to jump in and just do a disqualification. Why is a heel girl doing a moonsault onto the baby faces instead of the other way around to begin with? And more importantly, why are all these fucking girls being allowed to do shit that's going to cause them serious fucking injury that they... When I say somebody ought to be able to tell them you can't do that, I don't mean tell them you're not allowed to do that. I mean, tell them you cannot perform that correctly. So before we go into the controversy, what do you think about this fucking match?
I mean, the match was a mess. You hit on a lot of the realities of the AEW women's division. I think Megan Bayne is pretty good. Not saying she's great, not saying she's ready to carry something, but she's good, and she's got size and stature. She shouldn't talk. I agree with you on Willow. I thought that about Willow from the first time we started seeing her. I thought she was great, and I think she can go to WWE. I'm as big a fan of Harley Cameron, the entertainer, as anyone. I know she could do the spinning, thing into the DDT, but everyone does that, but she's not a wrestler. And Penelope has been there since day one. She'll probably be there as long as she wants to be. But is she a wrestler? I mean, at this point, how many times has she gotten hurt? Didn't she get hurt doing like the same thing? Or am I thinking of someone else? Like a dive to the floor a few months back? But that's part of the problem. AEW has some talented women wrestlers mixed in with women that aren't ready for NXT. So it's like a weird combo. You have some people that could be in WWE and the people that shouldn't even be on TV. So yeah, I saw this. This was a mess. We'll talk about the controversy, I guess, as you put it. But yeah, I mean, what did you expect? You said you wrote down someone was going to get hurt. You knew it wasn't going to be a classic. What did you expect?
Well, somebody got hurt. So now apparently there's another controversy out of this because Harley Cameron, after the match and people found out that Penelope had hurt her ankle from doing the moonsault because she went right in between Willow and Harley, because of course she wasn't looking. It was another blind backwards moonsault like everybody does these days. They just, there's, they'll be there to catch me. But so many people blamed Harley Cameron for not catching Penelope that they ran her off Twitter. Apparently she deactivated her Twitter account by the following day or whatever because so many people were, you should have caught her. What the fuck? That's the problem. You have a bunch of green talent, whether male or female, doing shit that's over their heads. And you could see on the camera angle that was broadcast, when old Penelope starts going backwards and her arms fly up, old Harley went up, got to go up. Oh, shit. She went to the right, and then she realized she should go to the left. But Willow wasn't any further underneath her than goddamn Harley was.
And Megan Bayne was in between them at the start.
Well, she had to back up or she would have got clobbered by her own fucking partner, which is another part of the stupid thing about holding the two standing there. Fuck. Anyway, the point is, number one, who cares that much about Penelope to harass this other poor girl? And secondly, No, it wasn't her fault any more than anybody else that misses any of these goofs diving anyway, because how the fuck are you supposed to know where they're going, where they're going to land, especially if you're green? You zig and you don't have time to zag back. This was just one of these stupid things that happens when all of these people get together and start jumping off of shit onto piles of people. Sometimes they land and sometimes they don't. But to harass Harley like she did anything wrong or especially on purpose is ridiculous.
Yeah, by the way, even if Harley had caught her, it would have wiped Harley out.
Yeah.
Harley Cameron is not someone who should be catching flying women.
Yeah, let me catch this 125-pound out of control spinning fucking human body while I only weigh 125 pounds myself and I'm standing still. She should have fucking dove out of the way. Made no bones about it. But this is, again, it's another one of those things where the fans don't understand and they don't get it. Because the same, there's people screaming at Harley for doing this, but something we didn't even talk about, except it's apropos now. What was it on Raw last week with Julia and Rhea Ripley? And a lot of people, now Cornette loves Rhea, so everybody else has got to be wrong. No bullshit. Go back. If anybody cares enough, maybe you're one of the people who ran Harley Cameron off Twitter. But if anybody wants to go back and look at the moonsault off the top and the landing in between the two girls and ascertain a blame of that, and then look at it side by side with what Julia did to Rhea Ripley, when we talk about that's not working stiff, it's working dangerous, or that's not working snug, it's working recklessly, that was a textbook example. It would have been a fist fight in the locker room in the territory days. With what Julia, and I'm going to explain.
Yeah, you got to describe this. I don't know if everyone knows what you're talking about.
Well, I'm going to also explain why you can't do this. Julia had Rhea Ripley on her knees in front of her with a surfboard hold on her. So Rhea's on her knees facing away from Julia. And Julia has a hold of both of Rhea's wrists with her arms behind her in the surfboard hold. Okay, that's fine. That's old as the hills. Then what Julia does to Rhea Ripley is raises her right foot and gives her a legitimate curb stomp right in the small of the back, shoulders, neck area, boom, and straight down. And it drove Rhea Ripley's face down into the mat, gave her a big black eye. And that's what I'm talking about, working dangerous and working reckless instead of working snug or stiff. Because when you're in that position, imagine, Brian, you're down on your knees and your arms are behind you and she's got a hold of them. Even if you have called ahead of time, now when the referee makes me break this hold or whatever, I'm going to give you a stomp in the back and you go flat to your face on the mat, right? That's what we've agreed on. But when I'm standing there holding on to your wrists, Brian, what I would do is I would give you the Iggy on your wrists. I would give you the little scrunch that indicates that I'm about to let go, get ready. Then I would let go of your hands, put my foot in your back and push you forward, letting you take your own bump, because as soon as I let go of your hands, you're going to start bringing them around in front of you. And I would take it the way you take a post, or if you run into a wall, I would bend my left arm in front of me and I would go down with my face turned to the right and fucking my right arm flat on the mat at the same time. Boom. What this fucking bitch did, disregarding the safety of her opponent, was without letting go of the arm, she put her foot in that back and she just fucking pushed her down. When you've got your back to somebody, you can't see when it's coming. You need not only the Iggy to let you know, but you also need them to be working. And there was no time for Rhea to react, no time for her to get her hands in front of her. No time for her to stop her fucking momentum. And with the padding that they use on those rings, state-of-the-art padding, I can't imagine how hard you've got to hit the fucking mat to give yourself a black eye. That was bullshit. I looked at that. I was like, what the fuck must this fucking douchebag be thinking? To do that to somebody, man, woman, male, female, animal, vegetable, mineral, that was unprofessional. Regardless of who was doing it to who. So if somebody needs to get fucking run off Twitter, run that fucking Julia bitch off Twitter. Because she's dangerous. And as I said, if I can see somebody doing that to Buddy Landell in fucking Laranja, Louisiana, and goddamn shit taking place in the locker room immediately afterwards. That's bullshit. You've got to have a fucking private closed door talk with the son of a bitch that kicks you that hard face first to the mat. But I'm sure they're all like, oh, things happen. Yeah, things happen when you do them.
Well, that was
Did
SmackDown.
you see that, Brian? Did you see that?
I did see that. Yes, I did.
Yes. What it was SmackDown. I said Raw, SmackDown.
I actually didn't know she got a black eye from it. I saw it and it looked bad, but I didn't realize the after effects.
I saw people talking about it on Twitter, sharing the clip of what happened, and apparently Rhea had put a picture out of her black eye or whatever. But Jesus H. Christ, again, just ridiculous. I don't know what's possessing most of these young folks these days. And nevertheless, moving on very quickly, because we want to get to the main event. Brody King beat poor old Jobber Davis. Now his job is to job every week. But it took Brody 10 minutes, so didn't help anybody. The announcers ignored the fuck ice chant that was briefly done at the bell. They just kind of talk over it. And then Brody King told Swerve that he's the most dangerous man in AEW and he wants a fight on the pay-per-view. And then Bandito said he wants a fight on the pay-per-view too. Maybe they'll both fight Swerve. And then music played. And Don Fallis came out with Andre dressed up like a chauffeur from Goodfellas, and they stared at each other. So I'm sure that'll be what that is. Did I summarize that segment properly?
I think so. It was an interesting matchup just because Mark Davis is one of the bigger people there and Brody King may be the biggest person. I mean, Paul White's not on the roster. And, you know, I was watching this and it's like Brody King has kind of now established who he is. What is Mark Davis? Like, he's got a necklace on and he's gigantic. He kind of looks like he's auditioning to be the brother of Beastman. But, like, there's no, like, defined, like, who he is, what he's out for. He's just a big guy that does jobs at this point.
Well, he had his partner that was a big guy, too. That Nick Goulas would have made them brothers. He would have made them brothers because they looked enough alike. And he'd have pushed him on top and they'd have been the tag team champions. But now, poor Mark's just doing jobs.
You want to talk about it a long time ago? Do you remember when we first saw him, who his partner was?
No.
Kyle Fletcher. Aussie Open.
Oh, good Lord. That's right, because it looked, here was this fucking fat guy, looked like he was in his 30s, and his teenage kid looked like he was 14. Aussie! Well, anyhow, and then we were ready for our main event, folks. Mile High Madness. Anything goes, no disqualification. Say it with me all together, fans. Lazy booking. This is the Children's Play Hour. The Hardley Boys team with Jungle Jack Off and the Rascals against Ricochet and his stooges, and poor FTR has to be in this world now, this universe, inside AEW, where the kids get to play with their designated play partners, but they don't cross-pollinate with the rest of the roster. I mean, this was a parody of ECW. Soon as Jungle Jackoff comes out, gets in the ring, then all the heels come out and jump on him. And then the Harley Boys make the save, and everybody's diving and fighting on the floor and into the arena in a triple box where you're seeing two almost completely black camera angles because the arena isn't lit. And then a wide shot, you can't tell what the fuck's going on anyway from the roof while the music is still playing. But it's not like New Jack music, like goddamn dangerous shit. It's like, it's Tarzan Boy. It's Balta fucking Mora.
Yeah, the fans are having a great time. I mean, the biggest pop may have been when the music played a second time. That got the biggest pop of the match.
Yes, because they can go, because they're just a bunch of fucking idiots running around in the dark in the building. And I mean, I would expect maybe this could be the music to narrate an all-out brawl at a daycare center. But anyway, you couldn't see anything. They did comedy with Stokely in the wheelchair. The gymnastics everywhere, the chairs, the plastic buckets, the tables. At one point, another rascal came out that wasn't in the match and just beat people up. And they used a fire extinguisher, and old Jungle Boy got a vacuum cleaner and hit people over the head with the dust bucket. It was just so contrived and over and over.
At one point, one of the rascals didn't even know how to use the fire extinguisher because he came out using it, and then he went to like hit the guy with the other part of it, but he started spraying right behind him. So as
yeah, because he mashed on the thing as he was trying to work and hit the guy with the canister, and he fucking mashed the thing at the same time and sprayed it in his own face or whatever. But they went, into the overrun. About 3 minutes into the overrun, I fuck it. It's all the same. I fast forwarded about 5 minutes, and the Cucamonga Kids contingent won the thing, but just for no reason. To just have messes like this and mayhem in a sloppy fake fashion. If it was 3 or 4 minutes long and it goddamn looked good, then that's kind of some attitude era shit. But when it's 20 minutes long and it just looks so fucking phony, people just laugh at it and want to sing along with Baltimore. And that's the more you do on this show, the less you can ever do to do any more. That was profound. Think about that. Are you thinking?
I'm thinking, usually people don't say that was profound. Think about it.
But well, because you have to dwell on it for a second. And then you'll find out how profound it is. I can't remember exactly how I said it now. So the less you do, the more you know.
That's another
or
one
something
of the songs,
like that.
I believe that's another one of the tracks on the album by Balta fucking Mora.
That's all I got to say about that thing there, that show. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like they had a good time. And again, the fans, they loved hearing that music and just the chaos. Not for me, and the Bucks suck. So, I mean, that's what we have felt for years, and it has not changed.
That was a dance craze in Nashville at one time, the Bucks sucking boogie.
Well, I thought it wasn't anything special, but the fans there seem to be into it, and that's not profound. You don't have to think about it, and that was Dynamite.
Well, and think about that. Think about how much skill it takes, how much profundity it takes to be profound.
Well, we will see what happens, of course. Right?
Are we doing anything else? We might.
I don't know what we're doing right now, but of course, after the pay-per-view coming up, we have an AEW pay-per-view in a few weeks, so lots more AEW action coming. This really took the spirit out of the fucking show, didn't it? AEW Dynamite, another great episode there.
Can we get out on a down note? Should we always leave them wanting less?
Well, AEW Dynamite, and what is your show? I don't know why I'm trying to save it and host it and everything.
I'm trying to get permission to leave.
All right, if you want to call it early today, because
early? Goddamn, it's almost dark.
Again, it's your show. It's your show. It's your call. I don't know if this is for the air or not, but it is now.
In that case, just clean this up as best you can. Folks, we're going to be back soon with more. We've done all we can do here. If you have no more questions, you're free to leave. And we'll see you next time. Thank you. Fuck you. And bye-bye, everybody.